Welcome everyone to another exciting lecture into the occult sciences. This is Grandmaster Dr. Thor Templar, and I will be your guide as usual into this fascinating, exciting world. And I'm going to cover today a subject that is really paramount in rituals and occult manifestation, and that's the issue of domination and compelling. Now, ultimately, this is what everybody wants to do. They want to dominate or compel something or someone to do something, and this is part of the magical process. Or at least people think it is. This is a terrible, terrible misconception. I want to clarify once and for all, which dealing with many ritual clients over the years and recently, this issue, of course, always comes up. And that means basically, in a lot of people's minds, are you successful or not successful in doing something if this issue hasn't been come to a head in the way that you want it to? And there are many issues involved in all of this, and that, we talk about the intelligent energy of magic, which is critically important to understand. We talk about manifesting abilities, and we talk about all important timing, and timing is very important as well. But what people don't understand is that making somebody do something, in general, is never a good idea, even if this is to the point of potentially selling people a particular product of yours. And to some extent, relationships are that, because you're selling yourself to some extent. So it's important to understand, well, what does that mean in terms of forcing somebody? Well, first of all, you can't make people into robots or into Stepford wives, into clones, into, yes, I will do this for you, master. Yes, what would you like? First of all, is that really the kind of relationship you want to begin with? So, compelling and domination generally works in only a few situations to gain some positive results from. And generally, they're things that you are going to get short-term results from. There's a value of it for short-term situations. And even that can be debated of whether how effective that is or not. But, you can't make somebody love you. The point is that if you think about that, trying even to do that is a little bit ridiculous. Well, how ego damaging is that? Well, I'm going to make them love me. They don't care about me. They don't want me. They don't like me. They don't think I'm good looking enough. They don't think whatever. I don't have enough money. Whatever all the little ridiculous things that come into relationships. You don't have the right tattoos on your ass, man. I don't want you. So the whole idea is that these kind of attitudes that you want that person is absurd to begin with. Which is quite a bit different from influencing. So, when you get into compel and demanding and commanding, you're talking about quite a bit different than influencing. Influencing is pushing and moving and motivating a person in a particular direction that you want them to do. From there, it should be the fact that they follow through with that without being commanded or compelled to do so. The whole dominating a person to do a particular thing is setting yourself up for endless problems. I mean, if you have to dominate someone to do something, it means you've already got a problem there. A problem that will not go away just because you've dominated them to doing it one time. You're going to have to continue to do that, and even if it works, it's going to create a great hatred of that person that you have to control them constantly, all the time, doing one ritual after another to get them to continue to be pushed in that direction. Now, influence is completely different. The whole idea is you want to make sure that an opportunity is presented to a person, that they understand that they're given this opportunity, that they see that here's a great benefit, you should take it. But they should in themselves agree to that benefit and say, yeah, this is something I want. This makes sense to me. Yeah, I like this person. And jump on that. Not to the point where you have to dominate them to follow through with it. Now, what kind of basically people are looking at relationships like this is that, well, basically what everybody wants here is a shotgun wedding. Yeah. And I think that's very appropriate when you start dominating people in relationships. Well, it's a shotgun wedding. Yeah. And of course, that's going to be a great wedding, isn't it? You're going to have years of marital bliss when you force somebody into a relationship like that. Yeah, you're going to have marital bliss for about 2 minutes. Maybe even during the ceremony, they'll be scoping out somebody else they want to get involved with or screw. I mean, it just really comes down to that. Because after all, they really were not that interested in you. You somehow magically controlled them to a point. But this is not going to continue in a magical reality for very long. And the minute the energy wears down, the influences start to wear down, or just life in general, if someone is not attracted to you or doesn't want to be with you, they're going to find somebody else. And they're going to do that whether they have a ring on their finger or not. So you're setting yourself up for problems. You could say, well, I'm a salesman, and I want to sell this guy my product, and I'm going to make a lot of money off of it. Well, maybe. Sounds like, yeah, well, a little bit of domination there would certainly would be good. And you could say, and if you are, and it has to be clarified here, that you may be helping the entire person as well, because let's assume you're selling a quality product that person can use, and that will benefit. Now, if it's not, if you somehow influence someone to buy your product, which is inferior, or may not even be inferior, doesn't meet his needs as well as something else, you could actually lose money. How could I do that? He bought my stuff. I got my commission. It was a fat check. Yeah, baby. Picked out my brand spanking new set of 6-packs. Yep, go to the store, pick them up. Well, we assume that, but what happens if that person's product gets those products, it isn't as good as someone they could have, and everybody he meets said, that fucking AB company sold me this stuff. Yeah, it's not horrible, but, it didn't meet my needs. It's really crap. Stay away from those people. Now, if he tells that to everybody he comes into contact with, because he felt that you sold him a bill of goods that really, and people will think you, ultimately they'll rationalize you misrepresented even if you didn't. You could lose money because of the fact that he's trashed your business because you have not given him a product that he feels is to his highest and best good. So you've actually hurt yourself for an immediate sale. So you have to look at these things, and this is where intelligent energy comes in and why people say, well, magic didn't work, it didn't manifest. Well, there's probably a really good reason for that. And of course, there are plain and simple failures. Nothing is 100%, and magic certainly isn't. If it was, probably all the people who practice magic would be eliminated, that you wouldn't be even able to find a book. Certainly, that kind of power wouldn't be given to the masses. But you got to understand that the minute you get too far past the influencing and you get into the domination and commanding, you're getting into very sticky ground that is potentially harmful to you. You get into a negative relationship and it destroys your life. People cheat on you. You get into hatred situations. You get into potentially dangerous situations where you're enrages at people. They go out and do things for anything from screw around and get some sexually transmitted disease, and guess who they give it to? They give it to you. Or what if they just ruin your life in general and get you pregnant, or you get somebody pregnant and you're stuck with a kid for 20 years? Well, I'm glad you wanted that. But remember, what comes with domination relationships is all of those problems. And the fact is that if you have to dominate somebody in a relationship, besides opening the door and influencing, and let's get that 100% clear, that's critical to do. But once you open the door and you influence, you don't rush through the door, grab that person by the back of the neck and drag them through the door. They need to walk through that door you just opened and influencing them to do that, not drag them through. Because there's going to be problems there. If you think having a relationship and you really are involved with somebody and then they leave and abuse you or do whatever else happens there, if you think that's a good result from a magic, yeah, it was successful, we got together. Yeah, except the rest of your life is hell. That wasn't a successful ritual, that was an idiot ritual. And the intelligent energy in magic generally will prevent that. But there's also, in many occasions, people can dominate their way through things, compel people to do things, and they end up with a giant jar of shit. And then they wonder what happened to them in the future. And that really is critically important. So there's a level where you have to step back, and that doesn't mean that you don't keep influencing and pressing an issue until you can get a resolve of that issue. But be careful when you step over that line into dealing with somebody who doesn't want you, who's not interested in you, and then you get to take that unperfect, uninterested person and bring them into your life full time. Oh, what a joy. So, I mean, people aren't with you for a reason. And if you give them the opportunity and they don't take it, well, there's a reason for that. They're not interested. It's unrequited love. It's stupid after a while. Now, everybody gets stuck on people, and I certainly understand this. I think we've all gone through this. And, you should try influencing to see if that person is just going in the wrong direction because they've been influenced themselves by someone else poorly, whether that could be money or power or position. And this happens quite often in life. So you want to go in there and influence in your own way so that you have an opportunity as well. But, if someone doesn't want you, if they're not interested with you, if you have to constantly push them and cajole them, there are problems. And this goes in life in general. If you have to buy people expensive gifts, take them to fancy restaurants, then what is it? Are they dating the fancy bottle of wine you just bought? That fancy car you just took them around? Or are they dating you? And this kind of transference, when it becomes major and on a consistent basis, is non-fulfilling for everyone, and it makes you a sucker. And this can transfer into lots of different areas of life. So you have to be very careful depending. Now, there are situations where short-term immediate results in your favor are very positive. Obviously, this happens in... And of course, generally, let's say legal cases. But, if you're in a legal case, it means there's something really strong there that you should be successful in to begin with. I mean, if you just want to meet somebody for a fun sexual experience, that may be a domination particular state to do. But be careful there. You may be getting more than you choose. This could be like the old movies where, the person then pursued you like a maniac. You may not be in love with them. If they fall in love with you and pursue you like a maniac and terrorize your life, that could be a problem too. Or they could have a disease. You have to be careful. So everything potentially has problems when you get past influencing them, because when people are forced to do things and then wake up the next day or the next minute out of some sort of almost hypnotic state and say, well, what the hell just happened? They're going to share their misery with you. And if you're living with that person, you're in a very difficult and dangerous situation. And certainly not productive. As I said, even with something as simple as saying, well, gee, someone buys my product, they make money, isn't that wonderful? Well, not necessarily. I just gave you an example of that. It could actually hurt you. I mean, if you're not fulfilling the needs of that person and you forced it upon them for whatever it is, and salesmen tend to do this all the time in different fields, is, they call that buyer's regret. People don't really want it. They've been conned into it, very typical with car salesmen and everything else. Yeah, but, ultimately you get a lot of negativity from that. If you could have made a proper deal with somebody, they'll tell their friends and you will build a much better business than the fact of, well, I screwed that guy. Yeah, well, that guy hopefully is going to tell a whole bunch of other people that you screwed him, and you will not be a salesman, period. I mean, that's how things work, and particularly with the internet now, the interweb, where you can express your opinion on stuff. So the whole idea is, with all that's out there, you can accumulate a total opinion and attitude towards something, which generally hurts that particular person or situation or business. And rightfully so if they've done things bad and dishonorable and have cheated you. I mean, not enough of that is on the net. Actually, in most businesses, which are very disreputable. In the common world, I should say, but in the occult world as well. So these are all factors that are very important. But you've got to understand that you've got to look at something in a particular fashion, and nobody wants to give up on a situation. They want X results. They want that person. They want that situation. Well, you better be very careful what you're manifesting, and what is the long-term benefit of that. Influencing and opening the door is a must. It is not something you should even think about not doing. You must do it. That's part of what manifesting is all about. When you get past that, particularly when it comes to relationships, you're creating a nightmare of future problems. You're building a house of cards, and the most simplest little opening of a door or movement of air is going to knock it down. And ultimately, that's going to make your life into a living hell. If someone moves in with you and continues their negative ways, you're going to get it firsthand. You think it was bad when you were dating and you weren't living together? Wait until you're living together. Wait until all the problems that come with that. Your life can be turned into a living hell, and not for a few weeks or months. It could end up for years like that, with the complications I've just stated, with getting pregnant or having children you have to support. This is not a game, people. You need to get involved with people who love and care about you and want to be with you, not who are compelled or dominated to because you want it. You're setting yourself up for a nightmare. So it's very important that you go to just a level. And in general, domination and compelling doesn't work all that well anyway, because the intelligent energies of magic stop it from working. Plain and simple. Magic, which is a very important law of magic, magic will not manifest a problem greater than the one you are trying to solve. Now play that back a few hundred times so you understand that. Now, you may not see that as a problem, but the magic will know. The magic, if you try and get a person who is not good for you, who is going to cause you endless amounts of suffering, the higher energy of magic understands that, and it won't manifest it. Plain and simple. It's not going to manifest a problem greater than the one you're trying to solve. So there's a built-in protection to some degree in magic in general. But if this does happen because you've forced it through somehow and you've used pure psychic energy to make things happen, you are going to act in haste and repent in leisure, as the old cliche goes. But this seems to be a very typical problem with relationships. People want people that don't want them. Where do you think that's going in your life? Well, when they live with me and they see together, we'll be able to get along great. We had dates that were great. Except they don't want to be with you. You think that, they don't. If they did, they'd be with you. Relationships are mutual. That's what a relationship is all about. That's the definition of a relationship. Dominating someone generally is a definition of slavery. And these things, and in life, people compromise or get involved with people for security reasons, for money reasons, because they're attractive, because they want them sexually. Whatever it is, people get into relationships for a whole bunch of bad reasons. And then we wonder why 80 to 90% of the marriages fail. Well, that's why they fail. So it is important to understand what's going on, important to understand in life that generally, in most cases, you want to influence and push and shove, as we like to say, even kick in the butt. But you need to stop short of compelling and dominating the situation to make it come out the way that you want it because you think it's best. And that's generally coming from a very tunnel vision of understanding, as all of us have in most things in life. Now, the intelligence energy of magic, well, changes that because they know what the bigger picture is and generally have things manifest in a particular manner. And of course, as with the other lectures in this area, there's timing involved. There's so many other things that involve for successful manifestations. It's very complicated. The hang-on principle, which is also, channels. There's another way to explain it. So, these are very critical to understand. But this whole area of compelling and domination where people think magic has failed, well, I don't think magic has failed at all. Magic has preemptively stopped the manifestation of something negative, of creating a problem greater than the one you were trying to solve. So it didn't work out for a reason. And anytime that you have to compel somebody to be with you in a relationship, there's a serious problem there. And if you think you want somebody sitting there like a Robotron at your beck and service, whether that could be in any manner of your relationship, is not very attractive once you have it. People don't want slaves. People want someone who is attracted to them because of who they are. And while initially being able to dominate or control somebody may be interesting and even fun, that wears off very soon, and high degrees of resentments are generated that turn instantly into hatreds. So it's important to understand that, and it's important to look at situations like that. And as I said, it's not only just relationships, which this tends to predominate in. It could be anywhere that you're trying to push things past a point of sensibility and potentially creating a huge and negative situation for yourself, as I've just discussed with a business situation of sales. It doesn't help you to make one good sale when that sale could potentially trash hundreds of other sales. And you could potentially be losing 10 times the amount of that one little benefit you had. You don't want unhappy customers who bought from you, unless you're a car dealer who seem to do this as a form of business. It's amazing how they stay in business. But you want to build something where you have a stream of happy customers who bring you new customers and who reorder from you. Those are the kind of successful businesses. Those are the kind of successful salespeople that grow and prosper in life. The ones who screw you, you never see them again. And I tell everybody, if I have problems, don't go there, don't do this, don't do that. Plain and simple. And I'm assuming everybody else does. So that doesn't work for you. So the point of pushing something through or dominating it is usually not the results that you want. Now, ultimately, you want to try and compel people as an influencing aspect in rituals. So you use command, compel, bend over, and I recommend people use this in every ritual. You need to push, but not to the fact that it is actually dominating someone and making them into a robot. First of all, it's very difficult to do to begin with and nearly impossible. It's rarity in magic. But regardless of that, and that's because of the intelligence magic factor, but you want to influence them enough. You want enough influence and pressure on them, enough, serious push, not a tap on the shoulder. You want to get both hands and push somebody like if from behind, or a serious kick in the ass to get their attention. So you're using compellings and dominations and bendovers for this for serious push. You want to make sure that they are highly influenced, coming short of this domination effect on them, because that is counterproductive. So that's how you use those, and I recommend you use those in every ritual you do, is that you've got to add in a bend over, a compelling, and everything else. And this is one of the errors that a lot of people make in magic in general. You need to add force to everything, because that's the kind of society we're in. but is not meant to be 100% domination, pushing the issue regardless. But you want to make sure that you're at the head of the line, and you want to make sure if anybody's going to be picked, that you get a fair chance, a more than fair chance, because that's what magic is all about. You want to make sure that you get a more than fair chance. You want to be the VIP of that particular situation. But you don't want to get into counterproductive situations where here you are, you've pushed the issue, you're there, it's me here. Here it is, right in front of you. Make a decision. That's where you want to be. But you don't want to go past that and get into points where people say, okay, fine, I'll take it, and then have buyer's regret. And buyer's regret isn't just with a product. You can add that into a relationship as well. People regret getting into the relationship, and they make sure they trash it or cause you misery to end that relationship. So it's very, very important that you understand this. And this is a concept is rarely explained. I don't think it's ever been explained until this audio to people correctly. It's very hard to get these kind of information out in written material because it's then it turns into a big giant mishmash. And that's why audios are so effective in additional training to understand written concepts. But this is a very important issue that everybody runs into, because this is what people want to do in many situations. And the reason why they go to magic, it's all about dominating. If you dominate yourself into a job position that you are unqualified for, and you're hired because of that, and or they really didn't like you that much, but you somehow used your magic to dominate them into that particular job position, you say, well, that's great. I just got myself a great job and I'm making a lot of money. Well, did you? Well, first of all, there's no such thing as a permanent job. So if they don't like you, they're going to fire you. And is that good for you? Is that good on your record? Let's say you've been there a year and people don't like you. And yeah, we hired him. I'm not really sure why, and he's kind of a jerk and I don't know what to do with him. And they keep you around for a little. You want that on your record? I mean, everyone where they work, you basically have to take that off of your record. Having places that you worked at which are negative to your resume isn't going to help you. The fact that you only worked a short period of time at a job and everybody looks at that as a failure. Well, why did you leave that company? Well, you come up with an excuse. Well, I didn't like it. It really didn't, blah, blah, blah. Well, the person interviews, oh, you failed there. They got rid of you because you couldn't do the job. Well, you got the job, though. You got that paycheck for 6 months. Did that help you? I don't think it helped you at all. Here we get into a negative situation where it can actually create much greater problems than you had to begin with. You should have gotten to a company that liked you, that you could handle the job, excel at it, go up in that corporation, or move somewhere else where you leave on a very positive note instead of being fired or having to deal with a bunch of people that don't like you. Well, I don't like this guy. I don't know why I hired him. I never really wanted him. So we're going to trash him every day, hassle him, cause problems for him because he's the shit of the office. So you can see how that is. You think you won something because you dominated yourself into a job, when in reality you created this whole series of greater problems for yourself that could rear its ugly head at any time and potentially really ruin your life instead of changing your life if you use magic improperly. So if you fail at getting a particular job, you should look at that as a positive thing. Well, it wasn't right for me. You have to move on. Because magic will manifest what's best for you and not what you think is best. It will manifest the greater good. It will manifest what's best for you. There's the intelligency of magic. But pushing your way into situations that you're unqualified for with a bunch of people who do not like you, i.e. business, sales, or relationships, is causing you a nightmare of problems. And if you do this in relationships and so forth, the person, when you have a problem, the person will run from you. Well, I could have been with somebody else. I don't know why I ever got back with you. I don't know why I'm with you. I had this other guy. I had this other situation. Well, you're setting yourself up for problems if the person doesn't take your influencing and run with it. Very, very important for you to understand these concepts. This is something I would listen to many, many times so you fully understand the impact and how this works and the situation. So be very, very careful of stepping over that line, grabbing somebody or something that you want, and having to push and dominate past a certain level. Influencing is one thing, domination is another. And be careful. There is no reality in the occult. Scientist creates it. Question everything, believe nothing, and let the guild be your guide.